My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome everybody. Eli here, and we are back with another Meet Cool People show. Today, I have the pleasure of hanging out with a more recent friend, another wonderful dude through the Success Champions Network, because that's like the place that I hang out with real people. And today we've got David Carr, and he is the founder of Steward Your Business. He helps business owners, technical leaders develop into confident and people-first decision makers. Through his podcast and his client work, he equips leaders to align vision with action and help build momentum where it matters most. His unique approach, known as the SYB Way, focuses on clarity, consistency, and courageous leadership. And with that said, David, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Eli, thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here.
Yeah, it's always fun stuff. And you and I
Yes.
so we've known each other for quite a while now, but it's like we ran into connections here or there
Yep.
through Success Champions.
Mhm.
But we met at events, especially
Mhm.
like the podcast meetup group.
Yep.
And then we're like, oh yeah, we should have a VC. We should get on a call, and that never
Yep.
happened. And then it took us several months before we finally made it happen. And we had a really cool conversation, which was a lot of fun. So this was good. So tell everybody a bit more about what is Steward Your Business, and like where did that idea come from?
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Eli. For me, I came from working 25 plus years in the environmental consulting space. I'm out here in Southern California. And what I saw was there was a real challenge of how do you show up as a people first leader, what I say, focusing on your greatest asset, whether you're a business owner or a leader, is your people. We can all have technology and other things in there, but really it's about you as your people. How are you taking care of that? Steward Your Business is all about stewarding your people, your greatest asset. So to me, where I came up with this was I want to help more businesses do a better job at leading their people, whether it's the business owner or the director or whoever the case might be, the department head. And so helping you, because I went through that world. I was a technical person. I was a biologist. That's my background. And then I started managing projects, people, and I'm like, I've never done this really before. And so it was a learning process for me, Eli, of you know becoming a better manager and ultimately leader. And so that's where Steward Your Business came in. And I was like, came into Success Champions Network and working with other business owners, and it's been a blast. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice. I love that. And so
Mhm.
how long have you been doing this? Because I know you said you had your background and that you led into it. And so
Yep.
when did you launch this?
So Steward Your Business launched in fall of 2022, Eli. So
Okay.
was with a small woman-owned business for about 4.5 years, and we took that business. It was She wanted to make 1 million in revenue, which we did my first year in 2018, and we kept growing the company. And over about 4.5 years, went from about 20, 25 employees to about 80, all these different services. I really realized my strength was being a connector, bringing the people together to accomplish great things, Eli. And so it was like, okay, do I go work for another company? And 'cause we had pivoted at that point in the end of or in summer of 2022. And I said, well, why not start my own thing and see if I can help reach more companies rather than just one. So that's where Steward Your Business came out of, is really
Okay.
leaning into what I call my sole purpose, where I feel like I make the greatest impact in the
Right.
world.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
So when who are the clients that you're helping the most? Let's get some
Mhm.
clarity on that piece.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, like I said, my background is environmental consulting. So trained as a actually as a zoology is my degree. People they have a varied background. So if you guys find me on LinkedIn and Eli and I are connected there, you can see my varied background. But I started there, and so that's where I have grown. Eli is really in those folks that they're either environmental consultants, they're engineers, they could be in construction. It's folks that are dealing in technical work.
Mhm.
And what I find is there's a kind of you're probably familiar with this, the Peter principle. You're elevated to your highest level of kind of incompetence, and what happens is you get people that are very well versed technically, and then they're asked to step into these roles, and they just haven't been equipped, haven't had somebody to help mentor and guide them, and so
Right.
that's where I've spent my year, and I had the same problem.
Okay.
honestly. So I'm like, "Hey, let me go back and help these folks, better integrate." And I think particularly in the last 5 years, since, post-COVID and all that stuff, how do we work with people in a distributed work environment, right? Nobody's not saying nobody, but definitely has changed, right? We don't have as many people coming into the office and that. How do we adjust and create culture? And so
Okay.
that's where I started Eli, but it
Right.
really has expanded beyond there. Now I work with both business owners and individuals too that wanna have a community connection and have more of a mastermind. And so that's been new and developing. I'm excited to have that as an opportunity to reach folks as well.
No, that's awesome. And I love the fact that like you're going in because there's certain industries where they just tend to attract the people that are much more introverted and
Mhm.
and the fun thing about this is like I always tell people when you look at people are look at me and they're like, I could never do all the stuff you do. You're so social. You go out to stuff, you speak on stage, all these different things. I could never do that. I'm an introvert. And I'm like, yeah, have you no clue I am too? It's like, no, this is all learned
Yes.
activity.
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the things so many people miss is that they defeat themselves before they get out there and realize this is all learned skills, and that's
Yep.
the beauty of it. And I always tell people, especially yeah, people who have kids, I'm like, teach your kids how to communicate and how to understand personality types
Mm.
as young as possible because that is one of the most powerful tools they can have as they grow no matter what direction they go with it.
Mhm.
So
Right.
yeah, it's good
Yeah.
stuff.
I love that, Eli. Well, to your point, you've done so many things, and my wife's an introvert too. Energetically, you can put it out there, but to you understanding, like you said, understanding about yourself, because
Mhm.
knowing my wife who's an introvert, you can go out there, right? But you need to recharge yourself, right? You like if you're out there
Oh,
all the
absolutely.
time, if you don't recharge, you're in trouble. My little
Absolutely.
my little, thumbs
Yeah.
going up here in
Yeah.
my background. But,
Yeah.
you know, but to your point, yeah, understanding this because I feel like a lot of people, like you said, if they don't understand personality, they don't appreciate who they are
Mhm.
themselves, and you
Yeah.
try to learn this stuff, and if you won't be able to maintain it over the long haul, my
Right.
experience. You will burn out.
Yeah, no, I can 100% agree with that one, and that's one of the things, like, I figured this out fairly early on from the speaker standpoint. I actually had, a situation where I wasn't hyper enough for a speaker trainer I was talking to, and he was like, "You need more energy, you need to do this," and it was actually, like, degrading, and I was like, "Okay,
Mm.
you don't understand, this is me trying. This is me
Yes.
putting out, 200% energy." And my coach actually stopped me when I explained this, shared the story with her. She's like, "Eli, that's not you. You're never
Mhm.
going to be that person that's super hyper, and everything else that I do has always been on how do I manage it." So you brought up a really important thing is like I can be super social, but at the end of the day, I'm going back to the hotel room and I'm crashing by myself, nice and quiet, and I might sleep for 12 hours because it takes me that to recharge.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
things like that, I think, is like these are things that once we learn that about ourselves, it also makes us much more empathetic to other people's personalities. And looking at the other side, you get those super hyper people that those of us like me are just like, okay, you're crazy, leave me alone.
Yeah.
You realize it's like, okay, no, that's just part of them, the way they're wired. And
Yep.
once you learn how to deal with it and understand it, it just makes life so much easier.
Right?
Yeah.
I love well, and I love, um, again, why I did this, why I created the Steward Your Business, Eli, was because I realized I could read a book or I could watch a video. They're very useful, very helpful, but I really wanted to have other people to talk like we're having this conversation, part
Hmm.
of learning and if well, if the dance, so to speak, because there's real value in building true connection, and that's why I like really appreciate being on your podcast. I see what you're doing here with meet cool people, and it gets me excited. And I feel like a lot of people today in today's age are missing that.
Hmm.
I'm 51, and I feel like, particularly, like you said, the younger generation, they're just going to electronic communication like that. They're not building real
Right.
relationships that are going to go the distance over their life. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I'll be married 20 years coming up this week. I'm very blessed, thankful for that. But and I've had friends for a long time, but it's because I'm very intentional. Like you
Right.
were intentional inviting me, and number one, meeting with me, inviting me to have a virtual coffee, and then part of inviting me to be a part of this group, and then inviting me to be on the podcast. You live from what you lead from what you live.
Uh,
Eli. So
Thank
if
you.
you anybody's listening to this for the very first time, go back and you'll see many, many episodes. I was talking this before we recorded. Eli is like, you have great people in your life because of the way you live with intention.
Well,
I
thank you. I
appreciate that.
appreciate that, and I know that that's the stuff. I appreciate that very much because that is it is very very true. As a matter of fact, I was just talking. I actually wrote a post today about intentionality.
Mm,
It's based off of part of Buddhism's Eightfold Path, and it's right intention.
mm,
And I was like, okay, once you get the basics down of what you're looking for, what are your core values, what's the goal you're looking for, who do you want to be a hero to, those kind of things, at that point you can be it's easy to be intentional because he's like, okay, does it follow these three rules? And then you're off to the races. So it's kind of a cool post that I had fun writing this morning. uh,
nice.
so so tell us about when clients come to you, where are they stuck? Like, what's that thing that causes them to say, okay, David, I need your help? Because
That's a great question. It can be different places, but where I typically find it, Eli, is there's some kind of breakdown with the team. There's some kind of siloing. You could have great superstars, but there is there is innately there's a breakdown, and most of them the business owners know there's something can be done better. We can improve it. And I've been joking recently because I like Ghostbusters. One of the Ghostbusters, they say at the beginning of the movie, don't cross the streams, right? But then
Mhm.
at the end of the movie, how they win is they cross the streams,
Across the
right?
streams. Yep.
So what happens is a lot of time companies they have individual streams that can be really strong, actually, and they can be, but it's like we're not getting a multiplying effect. And
Okay.
that's where I feel like if you have a visionary business owner that can see, the bigger picture, they're like, "We can do better, and we
Mhm.
want to, be proactive," and that's what I love working with business owners are actually being proactive versus reactive. Now, obviously, sometimes that happens.
Right.
Um, we all go to the doctors, blah, blah, but the more we can be proactive, the better the organization will be. That's
Mhm.
who I love to work with, Eli.
Right.
But
People that
really it's
get it.
all of them. Yeah, they get it, right? You know? But there's changes. Sometimes there's dynamics. And so where I've come in with business owners is like, look, we have a team, and most of the time, the business owners I find really do care about their people. They just don't either have the time because they've got to work on the business,
Mhm.
and they say, "Look, I really want to take care of my people. How can I do that in a better way? Mentor, provide them support, ongoing, right?" And so I
Right.
kind of come in as a doctor or a third party, if you will, objectively, I'm just looking at what's going on, right?
Mhm.
In and assessing it and saying, where are we in alignment? Where are we in communication, relationships, and trust, and the ability to execute? What's our capacity to grow? And then I say, okay, here's some different levers that we can pull in those areas. And really, like you said earlier, it starts with understanding and appreciating who we are as leaders, and then we can draw that out in the team. But what happens times is people are talking past each other
Mhm.
and they're not building relationship. There's frustration, there's irritation. It can be if left gone too long, right? It can, cancer starts very small, but eventually it continues to expand through the
Right.
body. So if we can get it right away or get it before it expands too far, we can save the body, save the organization before it completely breaks down. So that's where I try to come in, Eli, is where that is in the organization, and we come up with a game plan. And I love that. And I don't some people stray away with that, like, I don't want to do that. Let me help with your people side of things.
Right.
That's what I love doing.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shift a little bit with that
Yeah.
because this is great stuff. A
Mhm.
lot of the people listening to our show are going to be a lot like solopreneurs, smaller
Yep.
businesses. They might be easily under 10 employees in
Yep.
many situations. If somebody is either like they're at that point where either they're by themselves or they only have like one or two people, they might be virtual assistants.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that they can put in place now to kind of set the stage for the future when they grow even further? Because I think that's where you could really enlighten
Absolutely.
people a bit.
Yeah, I'll give you a link that you can give, Eli. It's free. One of the assessments I do is called the Five Voices Assessment, which your listeners can take. It's absolutely free. But one of it is just it's a personality assessment type. It's not the only one, but I really like this one because it's very easy to understand. So take that. It's free. Understand and appreciate who you are, and then what you can do is apply this. And where I actually work with individuals as well, or they have small teams, and start with understanding who you are. So then, when you're bringing on perhaps even an independent contractor, a vendor, you understand how you're going to show up in your strength and recognize where do I need help? Because I find oftentimes entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, they try to do everything. And if you try to do everything, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be very successful on the long haul. It's, getting people on your team that you can integrate quickly and understand where your strengths are and where they're not. So that would be one I would say, Eli, is just try the 5 voices assessment. I'll give you the link on my website. And if you decide that you want more, I'll do a free follow-up call with you too. No problem, because I find that's really valuable for me to lead myself well and then to help lead others.
Awesome. No, that's good stuff. And I like that. I like the concept of, first off, get to know yourself, figure
Yeah,
out where you are. And I think you hit on a really big point that as solopreneurs, a lot of times we do take everything on ourselves. I mean, I'm guilty of it all the time. Even right now, I'm doing
me
way
too.
more work myself than I should be. Um, but I think that, like, for me, like, I'm always teaching my clients, build your SOPs, your standard operating
Mhm.
procedures, your
Yep.
documents of how you do things now,
Mhm. Yeah.
for the very simple fact that at some point you probably will grow, or hopefully you will grow,
Yes.
where you can hand that off to somebody else. But even for the fact of, if you document the process and then follow your own process, you'll make less mistakes, because we
Yep.
as humans, if we have it all up in our head, we don't remember everything. And so
Absolutely.
I love the fact that it's like, okay, figure yourself out first, and then figure out what are the things you really shouldn't be doing.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that that makes a big difference. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, when do you have any client studies that I'd love to hear, like a
Mhm.
story of one of your clients that you've been working with that is
Yeah.
just like, okay, here's where they were and here's where they are now. I like to share those kind of stories. So,
Oh, absolutely.
anybody off the top of your head you can think of that's had some pretty amazing results?
Yeah, I mean, one of them, where one client I had, Eli, where we were talking, um, they it was the business owner, and then they were going directly to the client, and they didn't really have any other, I would call, project managers or assistant project managers. And so what was happening was it just kept coming to the business. And if anybody knows, if you do not want to be, you, the business owner, don't want to be answering all the calls, answering all the questions. You need to have that team. To me, it was very exciting to this particular team. Of course, about 2 years, but we started to develop and instill confidence in taking folks that were technical experts, in this case biologists and environmental consulting, and guiding them and getting them more confident in their ability to be a project manager, meaning you're dealing with people, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with deliverables. And so you're dealing with proposals as well, depends on where we're at in the project. But it was empowering them. And not only just, and I wasn't, this isn't just one individual, this was a group of about 4 or 5 people, particularly regularly, that I was working with to help them work. Again, like we talked about earlier, crossing the streams, like making sure that we're collaborating with each other at the same time as well, enhancing and developing their SOPs. Like you said, I'm kind of system agnostic, but we used Microsoft Teams or whatever the case, whatever that might be, but build that ecosystem to empower your team to make sure they're communicating. We held workshops uh, along the way, group training, individual one-on-one. And so bringing all those together, I love bringing different tools out of the toolbox, Eli, to help them be successful. And so they actually ultimately kept carrying on. They were able to hold projects, take on more capacity, serve different types of clients they'd never done before. We won work that they'd never done before. And so competitive projects. And it's been a lot of fun. And I was really glad to be a part of that team 2.5 years. We're still working with them.
That's awesome.
Um,
I love it.
yeah.
And it's always a good testament to show when you say, I've been working with them for this many years. I love
Hmm.
that. That's always a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So, let's gonna shift gears a little bit, and I
Mhm.
want to talk about your podcast, because you got two
Sure.
podcasts, right?
Yes. Two
Okay, because I
podcasts.
know I know
Mhm.
we've talked about the one, but I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, he's got another one. So
Yep.
tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Sure. So we're going to have you on the Business Roundtable podcast. I'm excited to have you as it come on that. So that was my first podcast. I actually started in 2023, and it was with other business owners. We just started talking with each other and said, "Hey, how can we provide value, much like we're doing here, and insights, um, and share with the world, and see, hey, come taste and see if this is something that's helpful and valuable to you. Why don't we have a continued conversation? Maybe develop a relationship where we can work together." If that makes sense. And so that has been growing, Eli. We're over 100 episodes in now.
Nice.
It's both video and audio, so just like we're doing here, and, love that, and it's given me an opportunity to meet people all over the world and different connections. Been a blast. I've really enjoyed that. Um, and while I was building that, at the same time, I realized I started in 2023, but launched it in January 24, the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast. So that one is just me. So I have two different formats. One where we're interviewing one or more people, that's the business
Right.
roundtable, and then in the Intelligent Human Leadership podcast, it's just me sharing my own personal of being a leader.
Mhm.
The tagline is "Know yourself to lead yourself," and so it's bringing resources and insights and getting you a window into me having worked 25 plus years in the environmental consulting space, guiding myself as a husband, as a father, as a leader, all of these different elements. So if you're interested in that side of things, I invite you to come check that one out as well. So they're different, complementary, but different.
Right.
And but it's been good. It's been a good challenge. And I appreciate the opportunity because especially when and you know this, Eli, when you're by yourself, it really causes you to focus and really intentional about because you're not nobody's asking me the questions. It's me having to come up with it and
Right.
put it all together and make sure again it's meaningful, helpful, useful. Ultimately, my goal, Eli, is that I come from a liberating philosophy. How do we liberate ourselves from being stuck in our own mindset and ways of being? So think here's how I found a way. Here's one bread from a beggar to another, if you will, learning your way, and I'm like passing it along.
Nice. I like that. And it's funny because like you've got the two shows. I've got one show, just this one, and I try to do, I do guests as much as possible because I don't like recording by myself. I really
Yeah.
don't. I can
Hmm.
do it. What I don't mind, and it's a lot of practice, is going to like doing the reels. I was like, okay, here's
Oh
my
yeah.
ultra tight topic, and it's 60 to 90 seconds max,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
do those. I don't mind doing those, but even that took a lot of work.
Mhm.
For me, it's when I was doing the podcast, the first iteration of my first podcast originally was just me, and I realized that I don't like that as much because I don't like just staring at the blue little dot on the camera.
Yep.
I want to have a conversation with somebody. And
Yes.
so that's where it came out. And you'll see that like when I have the Me Cool People show, that is just a solo episode, which I do from time to time. Either something like there's a topic that's been coming up like crazy, I just wanted to share,
Mhm.
or it didn't get a guest booked in time. That's usually it. It's like, oh crap, I'm short this week. I gotta go get something recorded this weekend.
Yep.
That's usually the alternative with it. And it's I give you credit for the fact that you got two shows because that's a lot of work. I've
Yes.
that's one thing that I don't think I could do two shows.
Oh,
I,
I will say it's gotten I put so you guys if you guys go find Intelligent Human Leadership, I've recorded through, into June. I put a little bit of a hiatus to that point. We're gonna come back to it. But
right.
because quite honestly, and you know this, Eli, you're getting, as your podcast grows and just like you're get folks that are like knocking on your door and that want to get on there and it's like depending on
Hmm.
I've had a number of SCN folks on my podcast too, which is great because I
Right.
love it, right?
Yeah.
But again, I can only record so many, you
Hmm.
know, and so it's like okay, I have to watch my bandwidth and make sure I love doing this, but I also want to make sure I serve my clients and everything else,
Right.
right? My family and everything else. So it's like okay, how do I do all this? It's a challenge, but it's good, and
Yeah.
I love that you host if anybody's not an SAM member, talk with Eli or myself, come join because I really appreciated you facilitating that meeting with other podcasters and talking about, hey, what's working, what's not working. You
Yeah.
know?
No, thank you.
Absolutely.
Those are a lot of fun. And, for me, because it's just like these conversations, and
Mhm.
just so everybody listening gets context on this, part of the Success Champions Network is there's some of us like David runs a group specifically for coaches, and I run with co-host Carl Richards, who has been a guest on the show. We run the podcast meetup, and it's all
Mhm.
designed. We say, if you have a podcast, do you want to have a podcast, or you want to be a guest on podcast, come hang out with us.
Yes.
And it's just for SCN members, so
Yep.
it's only within that group, but we keep it as an open roundtable because the conversations are the best part.
They
It's
are.
like, when we can just come in and talk and just have a good conversation. People come in with a lot more experience, and some people come in and they're like, think I might want to have a podcast, but I'm not really even sure what one is yet, and
Mhm.
everything in between. And it's great because we can get in there and just share best practices. And there's stuff that, especially being that I co-host it with Carl, we
Yes.
both, there are things that we disagree on, which makes it even more fun. It's like he's got his way of doing it, I got my way of doing it, and it's just like, you know take it all in, figure out what works for you. And so we have a
Yeah,
lot of
and
fun with it.
you both are, and I appreciate that. I want to say there is a humbleness in a serving, and I so appreciate that. There is no ego there. I mean, like you said, you may have different
Thank
ways
you.
of doing it, but I felt welcomed right away.
It's
And the
awesome.
fact, like you said, other people felt welcomed right away. And hey, this may feel like a dumb question, or I don't know. No, it's just like, hey, let's flesh it out. Let's figure out what's, again,
Hmm.
what is working, what isn't working. Here's a different angle. I so appreciate that, and I love that about, quite honestly, the SEN community as well, is that there's just people that have this philosophy of, "Hey, let's help each other,"
Yeah.
um, along. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So, and I'll don't let me forget, I need to send an invoice to Donnie when we're done with this show.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Yeah, Donnie.
um, it's cool that we kind of went down a little bit of a sidetrack with all of
Yeah.
this stuff, but it is one of those things, and I think you and I have this in common, in the fact that we want to help each other out, we want to help everybody
Mhm.
else out. And I love the way you're doing it. Like, you're putting together these mastermind groups to
Mhm.
basically get people together and have the conversation,
Yep.
which is very, very parallel to the kind of stuff that I usually do with my clients as well. And that's what I love. I think this is the best way that we can help each other out, because it's not just about us. Like, we're just a guide
Yeah.
pointing you in the right direction.
Yep. Yep.
So definitely. So as we're starting to wrap up here, what else is there going on with you that you could share, things that people can do? Like, what should they be doing right away to get reality is, you help people become amazing leaders.
Mm.
And there's a lot of different stuff out there on how to become a leader, and a lot of it is just regurgitated BS.
Yep.
So what's, just like two things that you think that if somebody says, okay, I'm ready to step up my game, what would those be?
Oh, wow. Great question, Eli. Um, well, like I said, you haven't already, go to, I'll give you the 5 voice assessment. That's a great tool or resource. But um, if you don't know, another great book that I read years ago was called Start with Why. Simon's great book.
Mm,
Understanding your why. Why do you exist? Can you articulate why you do what you do? And it just took me years to kind of get to. And I think this is foundational, because if you can't explain why you what you do, you can spend a lot of time in how and other things, but it won't be as meaningful. And so I would say probably just pick that one thing, honestly, right? Is if you can't articulate that well, or you have an idea, start and then get some feedback. And you can use assessments that can help you along the way. 5 voices is one of them. I'm certified in other ones and other tools. That's fine. But start to get that picture of the mosaic of who you are, and start to appreciate who you are, but really understand, what is your purpose? Why are you here? What are you doing? And what's the legacy that you're leaving behind? Because oftentimes we can get stuck in busyness and doing, and we look up and we're like, "Whoa, I didn't realize here, and this is not really where I wanted to be." And so my my heart of hearts is that we get you looking around and saying, "Man, I'm in the right place, in the right things, helping the right people that I'm called to, and I'm using my gifts, talents, and abilities to the best of my ability to serve others, and empower them." And so starts to me with understanding, appreciating yourself, understanding why you're here, and what living out your purpose. And if you're not clear on that and you want to know more, dig in it. I'm a resource. I'm an advocate. I'm one of many. You got to find your people, find your tribe. But I'm putting my hand out there saying, "Hey, I'm willing to help along the way and share how I found that."
awesome. Love it. And I think it's hilarious that you said start with why by Simon Sinek, because that is like one of the top things that I always tell people is
Uh,
read the book, go to YouTube, even if nothing else, go to YouTube and
yep.
watch his TED talk on it.
Mhm.
Little bit of history there. I got introduced to that probably close to 20 years ago. It was still fairly new, but it had just taken off. So whatever that was,
Mhm.
by my mom.
Oh,
She
wow.
actually she worked at the time, she worked for Boise State University, and I was going through some self-doubt on, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? And she was like, you might want to watch this video. And they had watched it at her work as a team building kind of thing. They had
Mhm.
a exercise and they ended up going through and watching this video. And so she shared it with me and I was like, you know what? This is awesome. And the funny thing is that this is very similar to the stuff that I work with my clients on. The only difference is he says it way better than I do.
Yeah, yeah.
So
He's a good storyteller.
yeah, he is a good storyteller. But that is awesome. Highly recommend that for everybody. So thank you for sharing that one.
You're welcome.
Um, awesome. So as we're finishing up here, we always finish up with two questions. Last one's the easy one. How do people get a hold of you? Everybody knows that one. That's easy. But before that, we do always have one question that I ask every single guest, which is, this is the Meet Cool People show. So what do the words meet cool people mean to you?
I feel blessed when I get to meet cool people, like people that are serving from abundance. They're feeling like they have uh, received and they're serving life with gratitude and appreciation. So, you inviting me as an example of that, Eli. But really, I love meeting cool people, meaning they're out to serve out of abundance. They are looking for love, to lift up people, show grace, that show mercy when they're having maybe a bad day, and kindness. Those are cool people, and I love to welcome them into my life, and I love to call people up if they're even struggling in that way, and they're coachable and they're willing, like, you know what, I don't have all this together, but I want to become more like that. That's a cool person too, because I see that the desire is in their heart. So those are cool people to me, Eli, and I love meeting.
I love it. Well said, my friend.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank
Very
you.
cool. All right. So the last question, this is the easy one. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, you and I are obviously connected on LinkedIn, so you guys can find me, David W. Carr. I'm not the football player. A lot of people joke about that because there's the famous David Carr football player. But or of course, Steward Your Business, stewardyourbusiness.com. Or if you look up, my name, David Carr, Steward Your Business, and all the different places. Of course, the podcast too, like Business Roundtable podcast or Intelligent Human Leadership podcast is on all the different platforms, YouTube, all that fun stuff. I would love to connect from you, hear from you. Appreciate the opportunity to come on, Eli, here today and just have a great conversation. Been a lot of fun.
It was definitely a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming and hanging out, my friend.
Yes, thank
With
you.
that, everybody get out there, have an amazing week as always, and reach out if there's anything I can do to help you out. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. Now, if you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to convertmoreclientsnow.com and see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rock star.